There's, broadly speaking, two kinds of code on a website. There's server-side code and client-side code. Server-side code, as the name suggests, is code that is returned from the server to the browser. The browser doesn't need to do anything else. It simply presents the code that is returned from the server to the person visiting the page, or to the bot visiting the page. Then we have client-side code. With client-side code, the browser needs to modify something about the code. This is where JavaScript comes into play. The browser has to call a JavaScript function, and that call of the JavaScript function changes something about the page. It might add additional content or an additional image to the page. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you can call JavaScript, but JavaScript is called in response to different events. There's lots of different events. We're going to focus on 3 here in this video: load events, click events, and scroll events. Load events happen when the page loads. So after the page finishes loading, an onLoad event is called. And if there's JavaScript on this particular website that has a function associated with an onLoad event, that function will be called by the browser, and the browser will modify the code accordingly in response to those onLoad functions. This creates the onLoad client-side code. Similarly, with a click event, when somebody comes to the website and they click on an item, an onClick event is fired. And if there's a function in JavaScript associated with that onClick event, the browser will execute that function in response to the onClick behavior. And there again, that might change what's appearing in the browser. That might change the code. So now we have a slightly modified version of client-side code that's modified in response to that click event. Scrolling happens the same way. When somebody scrolls down the page, that triggers an onScroll event. And the browser looks and says, oh, there's an onScroll event that's been fired. Is there a function I need to call in response to this onScroll event that's been fired? And if there is, like in the case of infinite scrolling, then the browser calls that function and then modifies the page and the code accordingly. Okay, so we have server-side code, we have client-side code, and client-side code is modified in response to different events that happen in the browser, like load events, click events, and scroll events. Now let's talk about how Googlebot works and other search robots as well. Search robots do not call click or scroll events. Search robots only call load events. So, search robots can easily see server-side code because it's just returned directly from the server to the browser or to the bot. Robots can also see client-side code that's been modified on load. Robots are able to call those onLoad functions and see code that is returned into the browser on load. In most cases, onLoad client-side code is usually pretty reliable. It's not as reliable as server-side code, but it's usually pretty reliable. But what bots will not do, what they will be unable to do, is click on items on a page and trigger those onClick events, and they will be unable to scroll on a page and be able to see those onScroll events. If you have any questions, please let me know. You can email me at matthew@elementive.com. Thanks for watching.